Thank you, Chairman Miller, Director of the Foreign Policy Association. Mr. Scaroni and Mr. Doer, who is going to receive Social Responsibility, Corporate Responsibility Award. Excellencies, distinguished ambassadors of the United Nations, I'm very pleased and grateful for your participation. Distinguished members of the Foreign Policy Association, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you very much for your warm welcome and for this great honor. I was very much impressed and encouraged by your warm welcome when I entered this hall and when I'm standing here before you. But I knew that there were many more hundreds of people who were welcoming me or some other persons in front of this hotel. I am very, very much conscious of their concerns and their plight and their challenges, and that is exactly why I visited Sri Lanka about 4 weeks ago. I had visited the IDP camps, these internally displaced persons camps, and I met, of course, government leaders. I met the representative of opposition. I met the representative of Tamil minority group. I did my best in the course of this fighting and right after the fighting. And I think I was the first world leader, and seems to be the last still. First and last, to convey the concerns and message of the international community that we cared so much for those many civilian people who were trapped in the middle of the conflict and who were expressing their concern and support and sympathy for those people, for their well-being. Unfortunately, we have seen many casualties of civilian population. I made it quite clear to President Rajapaksa of Sri Lanka that the fighting might be over, but there are still many more challenges to do. First of all, let these people, displaced persons, be able to return to their native home places. And more importantly, fundamentally importantly, that there should be a reconciliation, dialogue of reconciliation. You must reach out your hands to those minority groups, including Tamil and Muslims and many other minority groups. Even though the fighting might have been over by that time, if this issue would not be properly addressed, there might be another form. It may not be in the form of LTTE, but there might be some other form of violence, disruption of the society. And I made it quite clear again that there should be a measure to address the accountability and responsibility for those perpetrators who have violated international humanitarian law and international laws. That's what I'm going to continue to pursue. And a few days ago, I sent my letter to President Rajapaksa to pursue and asking him to implement his promises, which was made in the joint communique after my conclusion, at the conclusion of my visit to Sri Lanka. I'm very much aware of all those concerns, and please be rest assured that I'm going to continue to work for those people, not only in Sri Lanka, but all around the world, for those people who are suffering from this humanitarian situation, from the abuse of humanitarian law, abuse of human rights. That you have my firm commitment. Now, this is a great honor for me to be with you tonight, and even more so to receive this award alongside with President Clinton and Mr. Scaroni and Mr. Doerr. While standing here, I was very much humbled that whether I really deserve at this time, just in the middle of my mandate, whether I should receive this philanthropy or humanitarian award. There are still many more things to do. As my distinguished ambassadors may agree, there are still so many people who need our support. Therefore, I'm receiving this award with the extreme sense of humility and humbleness. And thank you very much. I'm sorry that President Clinton is not here. If I may say something about President Clinton, he is a great humanitarian. He is a committed activist. He's a man of legendary energy. That is why I have appointed him as my special envoy for the early recovery and humanitarian assistance for the people in Haiti. I have visited Haiti twice already, most recently with President Clinton together. I'm also committed to work together with President Clinton for the benefit and well-being for all those people in Haiti. Ladies and gentlemen, I accept this honor again, not for myself, but on behalf of the great humanitarian organization I serve, the United Nations. I would like to talk about then tonight what the United Nations means to me, and more importantly, what I think it means to the world. Earlier this year, I had an encounter that will live with me forever. I met a young woman while visiting in the east side of Democratic Republic of the Congo. She had been brutally raped at gunpoint by 4 soldiers. She was just 18 years old. I met her at a hospital in Goma, DRC, called Heal Africa. There were more than 100 women and young girls. All have been abused and sexually abused by soldiers and militia from all sides of the conflict. Doctors at the hospital, they could heal their wounds, physical wounds, but could they heal their souls? That really made me sad, and I was very much angry. Violence against women stands against everything in the United Nations Charter. It is an abomination. As Secretary General, I have been standing against, and I will continue to stand against these crimes. I try to defend the defenseless. I speak for the powerless in the councils of power. This is what the United Nations means to me, and this is what the United Nations means to millions of people around the world. The people we feed, the people we shelter, the people we protect. I have met many children again, forced to become soldiers when they should have been in school. The United Nations is helping them back into society. In Gaza, in January, I spoke out for the people there, caught in a conflict over which they have no power. Again, in Sri Lanka, I held the hand of an old woman, bandaged and lying on a cot in a hospital tent full of flies. Like too many others, she had lost her family and her home in the fighting. She is the face I see when I talk about Sri Lanka. Ladies and gentlemen, there is an African proverb: when elephants fight, it is the grass which gets trampled. People all around the world are being trampled by forces outside their control. Oh, thank you very much. They are being trampled by war. They are being crushed by poverty. I understand these people. I have met people who are starving, children who go to school in the open air because there is no schoolhouse. The dedicated men and women of the United Nations are working hard around the world to help these people. They are working to fulfill our humanitarian missions. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, the demands of the United Nations are growing. Today, we have 18 missions all around the world with 115,000 peacekeepers, military, police, and civilian peacekeepers. They and many other UN staff are putting their lives on the line to safeguard other people. Just last week, 5 of our UN staff lost their lives in a bomb blast in Peshawar, Pakistan. Every day, United Nations feed approximately 80 million people every day. We are helping to save mothers. We are helping children to learn. We are supporting the world's farmers. These are among the things for which the United Nations is best known. I thank you for honoring our work at this wonderful ceremony today. But there is another essential element of the UN's work that I would like to emphasize tonight. It is this. The United Nations is the only universal multilateral forum for tackling the great challenges of this generation. The past 12 months have shown repeatedly how local events can have global repercussions. We live in a world without borders, a world when a sneeze can become a global health emergency, when a financial hiccup can trigger an economic collapse in the world. The energy crisis, food insecurity, the financial crisis showed how closely they are all interconnected. Such challenges demand our full cooperation, all nations working together, rich and poor, big and small, north and south, developed and developing. They demand a sort of new multilateralism. A new multilateralism which is harnessed with the resources and principles. When you look at this concept of new multilateralism, you cannot find any better suitable organization than the United Nations. When the economic crisis struck, it was the United Nations who worked day and night to pioneer a proposal that would help to lift all the boats, not only the boats of developed countries, the boats of developing countries too. We knew that in a recession, those hurt first and worst is the poor people, most vulnerable people. We told this to the G20 leaders in London in April. We asked for $1 trillion to make sure the poor were not left behind. I talked to the leaders of the G20 that I welcome you are taking internationally coordinated stimulus packages, but never lose sight of the challenges and pride of the most vulnerable people around the world. Until you do that, you will never be able to claim that you have been successful. When the H1N1 epidemic emerged, pandemic, now we are in the pandemic, the United Nations was again in the forefront, providing information and coordination of response. I met the many CEOs of pharmaceutical companies together with Director General of WHO, asking them to provide and manufacture necessary vaccines. This is what the United Nations is for to help us rise to global challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, the biggest challenge is still ahead. That is climate change. It's not an environmental challenge. It is a humanitarian challenge. It is a health crisis, an energy crisis, food crisis, and the security crisis all rolled into one. This December in Copenhagen, governments will meet to finalize a new climate change agreement. We have an opportunity to save millions from disaster and starvation, to provide clean, renewable power to people who live without electricity, to create clean, green, efficient cities of the future. We can do so much if we have the will, if we have the political will. We have resources, financial capacity, we have technology. We have all people committed to do that, but largely lacking is a political will. This is what I'm going to do, and I have been doing, to raise political awareness so that the leaders of the world can make their final political decision. Ladies and gentlemen of the Foreign Policy Association, you can help us generate this will. You can help us succeed in Copenhagen. You can help us seal the deal. Tell your members, your friends, your political leaders that climate change is the humanitarian crisis. Tell them that we have a once-in-a-life, once-in-a-generation opportunity. Tell them that we must seize it. Tell them that we must make a difference. I know that we can make a difference. People like Paolo Scaroni and Brendan Doerr know that we can make a difference. And I congratulate both of distinguished leaders for their contribution for this international community. Their businesses are part of the growing United Nations Global Compact, working for corporate responsibility around the world. Even though President Clinton is not here, he also knows we can make a difference. He believes in the United Nations, and he knows, and I know, that by working together, we'll make a difference. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we live in a momentous time. Your mission of promoting understanding of global issues has never been more important. On behalf of the United Nations, I thank you very much for your commitment and for this award. Thank you very much.